So far this season, we've witnessed one of the most chaotic storylines I have ever seen as a hockey fan. On one side of the ring, we have JT Miller, a player whose intensity can only be rivaled to Nathan MacKinnon.
You can see JT Miller is yelling at Colin Delia to go.
Chip into the Vancouver zone. Miller could hear him going to the bench, a little frustrated.
A player who went from being acquired via trade, which was seen as a massive overpayment, single-handedly leading to fans wanting Jim Benning fired, to becoming a 100-point, bona fide #1 center.
Miller through center, over the Coyote blue line, gets through, scores!
On the other side of the ring, we have Elias Pettersson, a player who, in my opinion, has some of the highest upside in the game. The guy can do anything. He can score some of the most ridiculous goals I have ever seen. On this play, Pettersson picks up the puck in the neutral zone, walks in on the left side. Okay, pause it here. Pettersson with speed winds up for a slap shot only comparable to a prime Danny Heatley, or perhaps, a carbon copy of Wayne Gretzky.
18-year-old Elias Pettersson with a shot, scores! A rocket off the stick of Pettersson, posting in.
And rips in the puck far side. As this goal would also make NHL history, as he was the youngest player to ever score 10 goals in his first 10 NHL games. Pettersson can single-handedly generate plays, only comparable to some of the best passers in NHL history. On this play, after a very sloppy breakout attempt from Derek Pouliot, the puck luckily bounces to Pettersson. At this point, Pettersson would notice that the Avs defenders are caught flat-footed. His only passing option is Besser, but there are two Avs players instantly stick-check Besser when he gets the puck. Therefore, the average player would pivot and carry the puck on the open side of the ice, most likely opting to do a simple but safe dump and chase play. But Pettersson is not an average player.
When the puck comes right to Pettersson, who tries a bank pass for Besser, in with a shot, he scores!
And you might think, this was a very lucky, if not just risky play, which is fair, but when Pettersson is on, he does this stuff all the time. His hockey IQ combined with vision is so high that he's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. On this next play, Pettersson receives a pass in the neutral zone. This right here is a very common situation, and 99% of all players would either shoot the puck for a rebound or rim the puck around for a dump and chase. However, he would notice that the Canucks are on a change. He would notice that Garland is picking up speed and the defensemen are flat-footed.
Hands it off to Pettersson, back to Garland, and what a beautiful goal!
Where he would deliver one of the nastiest saucer passes I have ever seen. But here's the absurd part. Pettersson has shown that he has the puck skills. He won the hardest shot competition, the playmaking of some of the greatest players in the game, but that's only one side of his toolbox. Pettersson has also shown flashes of being one of the best defensive players in the league.
Pettersson looking, made a move, Jack Campbell right on it, but the Canucks scored, and that's the first.
Think about the optics here. Back in 2023, Pettersson was second in the entire NHL in block shots behind Austin Matthews. His IQ is so high that he anticipates block shots, which lead directly to goals.
Shot block, and Pettersson's ahead of the play, a breakaway for the rookie. Scores!
Pettersson would also lead the entire NHL in short-handed goals. This man has the upside to compete for a scoring title, while also winning a Selke trophy. No player in NHL history has ever won an Art Ross and Selke in the same season. The only two players who came close were Joe Sakic and Pavel Datsyuk. So just two of the all-time greats in NHL history. Think about the optics here. Pettersson would finish 7th in Selke voting, ahead of guys like Barkov, Matthews, Kopitar, while at the same time hitting 100 points for the first time in his career. But okay, Rob, we get it. You're a massive Canucks homer. Pettersson has been brutal and is getting paid $11.5 million. So then begs the question, what in the hell happened? How did all of this culminate to hundreds of news headlines pointing to Pettersson and Miller hating each other so much that it's ruined the culture of this team? And well, I would discover something shocking. Today's video is sponsored by SeatGeek. So far this season, we have witnessed some of the most entertaining and chaotic hockey I have ever seen, so there's no better time to pick up some tickets from SeatGeek, the premier ticketing partner of the NHL. As SeatGeek also makes it easy to find the best tickets for your budget. Green means you're getting a good deal. Red, well, not so much, as I make it a goal of mine to watch McDavid at least once per year, as I feel like I'm a part of hockey history watching this man skate laps in person, and I can find tickets to see McDavid for as low as $42. But maybe I want to splurge to sit in the lower bowl? There are tickets in the Oilers Attack Zone for $129. So whether you want to find tickets for sports, concerts, festivals, even if you've used SeatGeek in the past, if you click the link down below and download the SeatGeek app, you'll receive 10% off your order. This offer is only available for a limited time. Thank you so much to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video. After failing to show up to last year's playoffs, Pettersson would have an even more brutal start to this year's season. With 5 points in 12 games, things were looking bad in Canucks land. As fans and media were losing their minds, we paid this man $11.5 million to be a 30-point player? As the Canucks fan base went from lighting dumpster fires during their run to the Cup final, to having to endure a dumpster fire team for over a decade, Pettersson was supposed to be the answer. But then, it would happen. We would get a glimpse into the psyche of a professional hockey player, how their mindset can directly influence their production. In one of my recent videos, I would highlight the drastic difference in Nathan MacKinnon's career, where he would go from being in a bad headspace, which single-handedly led to him capping out as a 50-point player, to going to a sports psychologist, where he would then explode as a top player in the league, an MVP and Stanley Cup winner.
Oh my goodness, what a goal from Nathan MacKinnon!
And for the case of Pettersson, it wasn't just his competitive nature causing him to suffer mentally, it was the intensity of JT Miller and his teammates who expect more, and of course the fan base and media, as rumors would come out that Pettersson was becoming obsessive about social media, as it was rumored that he became so fixated on how fans were discussing his play, his contract, that it consumed him. Not only that, like I previously mentioned, JT Miller is one of the most competitive, intense players in the NHL, specifically when it comes to being verbal on and off the ice. The man has a lot of passion and can definitely be hot-headed. He's the type of player, leader, who will be on top of his teammates for underperforming, as some leaders like Quinn Hughes, Crosby, McDavid, Landeskog tend to be leaders by example. Of course, there are many exceptions, but there is a clear difference between a MacKinnon and Miller versus a Gabe Landeskog or Quinn Hughes. And around the time that social media rumors came out, leading to Pettersson deleting all of his apps, JT Miller would coincidentally take a leave of absence. And it's none of our business to know the real reason, but at the same time, it's also been highly reported by credible sources that this may or may not have to do with his intensity. Because here's where it gets crazy. JT Miller would take a leave of absence from the team. Pettersson would delete his social media, and before these events, Pettersson was on a 32-point pace through his first 12 games. After these events, he would put up 18 points in 12 games, which is a 123-point pace. This correlation cannot be ignored. This is way too strong to say, you know what, it's just a coincidence, as he went from looking like a third liner to scoring at a rate above Connor McDavid. And guess what? JT Miller would return to the lineup, where Pettersson would go on to put up 0 points in his next 6 games. What is going on? How could Pettersson go from being on MVP rankings to being invisible on the ice? It's actually absurd. There were games where they would not play with each other on the power play. Instead, they would rotate. I have a theory that kind of debunks everything you've been hearing about this story. When you think about emotional or intense players, your mindset goes to MacKinnon or Miller. Why? They are both very vocal. They're not afraid to show their emotions in games or interviews, whatever. However, by no means does this actually mean that they're the most intense players. It could just mean that they're more willing to be vocal. Because here's my thought. Elias Pettersson, without a doubt, is just as intense. But instead of bursting out in frustration, Pettersson internalizes it. Now, I may seem like a big old nerd. This may sound cheesy to some, made up even, or at the very least, just suck it up, Pettersson. So the question is, why is Pettersson frustrated all of the time? And well, I have several theories. 1. People tend to forget, but Pettersson for his entire career has gone through a carousel of questionable line mates. There was a long stretch where Nikolai Goldobin was his line mate, not in the NHL, Sven Baertschi, not in the NHL, Jake Virtanen, Louis Eriksson, Brandon Sutter, Josh Levo, my goodness, Brendan Leipzig. I'm not even joking to when I say that the majority of Pettersson's main line mates are now not in the NHL, in the AHL, or at best a third or fourth liner. And not because they all aged gracefully and left the NHL. No, they just couldn't crack a roster. Now, of course, Pettersson played many reps with Besser, JT Miller, Bo Horvat. He had a great stretch with Kuzmenko until he was sent to Rick Tocchet's doghouse. But because the Canucks know that they need 2 top-tier centers on different lines to create depth to see any type of success in the NHL, they have always put Pettersson into a position where he needs to drive his own line. And I get it. It makes complete sense. Especially if you're making $11.5 million, you should be driving your own line. But here's the issue. I've watched probably, 95% of every Pettersson career game with the Canucks. And even though he has one of the deadliest shots in the game,
Block, and Pettersson's ahead of the play. A breakaway for the rookie. Scores! scores.
He is so unselfish. It has become a huge hindrance on his own game. Think about it this way. There are many games to where Pettersson has a good shot angle. Other players like Austin Matthews or even Connor Bedard are taking the shot 9 times out of 10. Hell, 99 times out of 100. But because Pettersson has such high hockey IQ, he constantly holds onto the puck or makes a quick move to try to generate an even higher scoring percentage. But what he doesn't realize is that he was playing with Nikolai Goldobin. Therefore, Pettersson shooting the puck in the first place was actually the best scoring chance. His hockey IQ is so high that in many cases, it leads to him overthinking plays. Think about it like this. When you have the first line power play unit on the ice, they're more likely to cycle the puck to find that grade A scoring chance. But sometimes, you just need to shoot the puck. So when you see the second power play unit come on the ice, they're not overthinking. They have 20 seconds and many times get just as many shots. Do you get what I'm trying to say here? The biggest issue I've seen with Pettersson's game is that he is not aggressive. Even though that nobody on the ice, only a few players in the league have a better shot than Pettersson. So what do you think happens when you play with one of the most aggressive players in the NHL? A player who isn't only aggressive on the ice, but aggressive as a leader. That player, without a doubt, will begin to demand more from a guy like Pettersson, and this aggression will ultimately lead to some friction. So do these two players hate each other? No, but without a doubt, JT Miller's like, what is going on, Pettersson? And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. The fact that they separated on the power play, to me at least, all but confirms my theory. There's so many games where Pettersson has a great shot selection, where he instead decides to hold on to the puck and try to make a better play, whereas a guy like Miller says, screw it, I'm just gonna launch a bomb from the point.
Quinn Hughes for Miller, attack, scores! JT Miller, a power play goal!
Because of this, many if not most of the power plays, Quinn Hughes tends to look off Pettersson and do a give and go with Miller.
This power play
But the frustrating part here is Pettersson has the best shot on the team, and he is so unselfish he just holds back. So ultimately the friction here between JT Miller and Pettersson, it's solely about the fact that JT Miller wants to win. And he has a teammate in Pettersson who has so much upside, yet is held back for reasons we just don't get. I'd really appreciate you if you left a like on this video, and as always, thanks for watching.